Alright everyone, quiet on the set. Places, we've got a show to make here. Is Chris ready? Yes. Okay everyone, in 3, 2, 1, and... Coming to you live from sunny Orlando, Florida, it's the Great Movie Radio Show, a movie talk podcast, starring Chris Snyder.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Great Movie Radio Show. This is Chris Snyder, coming to you from Orlando, Florida. This is, of course, our first episode, and this has been something that's been a brainstorm for quite a while. And we're going to be diving into a lot of film appreciation, and a lot of these films that we may talk about are movies that you may not have seen, I may not even have seen them. But with our guests that we talk to, we're going to be finding out why these movies and these genres are loved so much, and what about them just sticks out to us, and why film is important. I have with me today our first guest, who's a friend of mine I met through my wife, and he was actually one of my groomsmen in my wedding. But him and I often talk about film and video games, and he's an avid writer. He loves music, and a very good friend of mine. Everyone, welcome to the show, Mr. Joe Erickson.
Hello, world. Hello.
You didn't say what you told me you were going to say the first time, and that's good.
Well, yeah.
That's good. We'll keep it that
I'm
way.
somewhat respectful in this sense.
This is based on a ride from a theme park.
For families.
For families, and I don't think they used any language on said ride.
Not to say that some families aren't more dysfunctional than others.
I know behind the scenes I said quite a few words.
Right.
That if I would have said in front of children, I wouldn't have had the job anymore.
Exactly.
But, it's...
like I said, some families are different.
You got it, man. You got it. But it's good to have you, Joe. And you and I have been talking about this for a while, and we're going to be having other guests. Some of our guests will actually be people that worked on the ride. And but this was a special moment. Joe's actually lives in Illinois. And he's down here for birthday and New Year's. And we're all family friends. So this was a good time to be able to talk live about whatever and just shoot the stuff and
do the things.
This is being our first episode. This will build what the future episodes will become. So here we are. So Joe, at what age did you think that, like, when did movies become something that caught your attention?
It wasn't really with movies more than it was with like cartoons. Obviously, you got to start somewhere. Cartoons.
So what was like the starting point with cartoons?
Felix the Cat.
Felix
the Cat. Who I'm convinced is a Time Lord, but we'll get into that another time. Yeah, my mom used to tell me I was born with a hearing deficiency. I had 25% of my hearing, which means I was legally deaf. Yeah. So I was born deaf.
Oh, okay.
And after I had the surgery, my mom would put me in front of a Felix the Cat cartoon, and I'd watch that for hours and hours and hours on end. But I think it was just the color and the music behind it. I like movies more with a good soundtrack than I do a good plot.
I agree with you 100%. I am a huge soundtrack junkie personally. I mean, you've seen how many vinyl records of soundtracks I have more than actual albums. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there. And everyone appreciates film, cartoons, TV, all of it. Everyone appreciates it for different reasons and different aspects of what they see, what they hear.
Right.
It's not, and there's people who can't see, but they hear things, and
right.
they love that, and vice versa. So there's so many different
It's
ways.
all about interpretation.
Exactly, and that's wonderful. Well, speaking of that, we're going to do a thing called Around the Track, which people familiar with the Great Movie Ride, if the mouse comes after me for saying it, I understand. Our show is very loosely inspired by what the ride meant. Ultimately, the ride was about film appreciation and seeing the bigger picture and the different genres that were presented. We're going to be talking about kind of our own version of the ride. We're going to be exploring what the ride presented as far as each genre in order, but we're going to be revisiting that and reimagining that with our own favorites of that particular genre. And in a way, we're recreating the ride in our own eyes and our own image, but with a sense of spirit that what the ride presented to us.
Yeah, like a personal
kind of
walk through the
a personal walkthrough. Like the Disney built the ride, and we saw the ride for what Disney built it.
Right.
But in everybody's eyes, everyone saw something different. I love Fantasia, but going through the ride, maybe that wasn't the animated movie I would choose.
Yeah.
That I would love there, because I have a different favorite. And this is kind of our way to, everyone has their own image of great movie ride.
Right.
And this is our way of presenting that to the world. And I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. And no two podcasts will be different.
No.
Or no, the same, excuse me.
Well, yeah. They will all be different.
They will all be different, exactly. So with that being said, so we're going to do around the track. We're going to start with, first of all, we'll go back in a second. Actually, I want to start with your favorite film, because you were talking about Felix the Cat and cartoons, and so this sticks out a little bit. But you have on your list here Beauty and the Beast, the animated feature, that Disney put out, not the live action one that was recently released,
which is still good,
but the classic,
right?
Tale as Old as Time,
exactly.
Beauty and the Beast. So did that love for cartoon with Felix the Cat kind of transition into loving Beauty and the Beast? Is there a story behind why that's your favorite?
Well, Beauty and the Beast was the first film I ever saw in theaters. My mom took me to see that, and it was the first one that I was really able to really absorb as far as like a storyline and music and animation, how everything can just mold together and make something beautiful.
So that was 91. You saw that in the theater.
Yep.
That's when that released. That was your. And did you see it when it released, or did you go see it later? Or
No. My mom took me to theater when I was 2 years old, and it was right after I had surgery to start hearing again.
So this is kind of around the time of the Felix the Cat invading your brain.
Yeah, I would still watch Felix the Cat as a baby before that, but I didn't have any sounds. All I saw was flashing colors and lights. So
Beauty and the Beast was like Felix, one of the seeds that animation
in your brain.
It
was the opening door into really taking in what a film could actually do.
Well, it would explain a lot too, because to me you're a very animated person.
I would hope so.
I mean, I am too. It's I could see that. You're like a cartoon in some aspects, and it's because you grow to love these things and you familiarize with them.
I can hit myself in the head with a hammer and not die. I mean, it's just little things like that.
I haven't tried that yet. I should.
It's not fun.
It's not fun. So with Around the Track, what we're going to do is we're going to visit the genres of the ride, and we're going to visit them in your own image, starting with your favorite musical, which we're coming around the corner. And lo and behold, this is a little bit too extreme for a Disney ride, in my opinion. There's Johnny Depp slicing someone's throat in a barber chair.
Sure. Family friendly.
Family friendly. And so Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd's your favorite musical.
He took in a child. He's a dad.
What scene in Sweeney Todd do you think that would be on the ride? What do you think? I'm coming around the corner and the marquee is coming right over my head, and I'm starting to see this is where the bubbles would be starting to flow. What scene from Sweeney Todd would be put in movie ride?
So it would be more than likely it would be a 2-piece set.
Yeah.
On top it would be Sweeney Todd and the person in the chair. Now, the deed is already done, so you don't see a blood spurt or anything like that, or else nobody would ride it. So then it would be the dummy in the chair. Sweeney Todd turns around, and that makes a button, turns the dummy into the chute, and then each time it would reset, it would just pull the dummy back into the chair.
I was going to say, it would have to be wired a certain way to be pulled and be put back. That's
exactly. And then and the bottom part of that scene would be Helena Bonham Carter. It would be her character just making mint pies and pulling them out of the oven each time.
Well, of course, you'd have the music going along with the scenes.
Of course.
You have to. Well, because Movie Ride also had a couple. You had Sing in the Rain, you had Footlight Parade, and you had Mary Poppins right there.
Yeah.
They're all in the same. I'm going to visit your second one, too, here, and that's Phantom of the Opera. I remember that is probably one of the only Broadway musicals I've seen live in New York.
It was my favorite one that I've seen on stage.
And it is a phenomenal piece, Andrew Lloyd Webber. And when they took the film, there's different versions of it. You have your classic with your Universal Monsters, and then you have the one that they did with Gerard Butler,
which I really liked because Emmy Rossum's voice and intonation of the character was beautiful. I had no idea before this, but she had experience in the opera, I believe, in Chicago. She was telling a funny story on Conan where she would have to sing an aria, a full aria for a complete Chicago-style hot dog. And
my God.
that's the only reason she would do it. Because they tell her, listen, if you can sing this full aria within a week from memory, we will get you a Chicago-style hot dog. Until she decided she wanted 2 Chicago-style hot dogs.
That's something to put out there.
She's a phenomenal singer.
Freddy Krueger himself was in a version of Phantom of the Opera in '89, so I'm assuming that's not the one you're talking about either.
No.
But the 1925 Lon Chaney version. Mm-hmm. So you're talking more of the Broadway aspect.
Correct.
So would that be the version you would put on the ride? Would be the Broadway version? Yeah, not Lon Chaney.
No. True that.
What scene in the Broadway would you put on the ride?
It would be the Emmy Rossum character. I think her last name's Dai, but it would be that character showing up to the Phantom's lair for Music of the Night.
It kind of fits together too because you have Sweeney Todd in one corner. This is a very dark movie,
Yeah,
right? And I'm okay with that.
But I wanted to get gradually better, because then if you go down the list, you see like Into the Woods, and that could be like the beginning of Into the Woods, where it's more happy, and then you go into the next genre.
Yeah, that would be something else.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, on your list as well, I'm just going to put them out there. Crybaby, Into the Woods, and Blues Brothers. I would love to see, of course...
Okay, that's a Chicago classic. If you don't like the Blues Brothers and you're from Illinois, it doesn't count. You are not from Illinois.
I'm not even from Illinois, and Blues Brothers is up there for me. I love them.
Good.
We're on a mission from God.
We're on a mission from God.
You got it. All right, so we're going to the doors. We're going into the gangster alley. And Boondock Saints is at the top of your list here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say, a lot of people... I didn't really think about this when I put this list together. Boondock Saints, it has that mob mentality. And it's a cult classic. I mean, Troy Duffy really put together something that really resonated with a lot of viewers, and some people pan it. Like, some people have just, really gutted the film. But you've got a great cast, too. I mean, Willem Dafoe's involved, and, of course, everyone loves...
Norman Reedus
from Walking Dead, and Sean Patrick Flannery.
And then, is it Billy Idol?
No, it's Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly.
Billy Idol, that's White Wedding, man.
Yeah, I get those confused. I don't know why.
Do you have Irish background? Because I know this movie really resonates with that whole...
I recently found out that I have a smidgen, like a sliver of Irish ancestry, which I'm fine with. And I love it. My wife is pretty much 100% Irish.
There you go.
And I love her to death. And
she's in the studio kind of watching us make a fool of ourselves.
But I think what I like about it, it's not necessarily a person against a mob. It's like a couple guys versus a couple mobs. You have conflicting stories that almost tie into each other. Where it's like 2 guys take on the Russian mob, which sets off the Italian mob, and then they have to go after them. And then you have the CIA agent, or is he FBI or CIA?
I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it.
I want to say it's FBI. But then you have the FBI coming in trying to stop a mob war from happening. I just think it's cool.
So what scene on the ride, what would you put on the ride? Because here's the thing. We're coming around.
Yeah.
And we're hearing things.
Yeah.
And then we get pulled into the immersion of the ride where we have our first live action scene. Would you put a live action actor there, or would you continue with the animatronics like we have been already? Like sticking with the format of things, I suppose.
Well, it'd be difficult, I think, to put a full live action cast in it. It would probably have to do something along the side.
What do you mean you could have would you have one person come and take the ride?
No, unless he wanted to be the six-gunned man, but I don't feel like that would blend in very well with the scenery. So, if anything, he would probably be... A live-action cast would be one person tied up in the rafters with the rope. Oh, you had to bring your rope! So, he would be in the rope along with, a robot, and then they would both get, quote-unquote, cut down. The robot would fall to the ground, and then the live-action guy would take over the ride after he shoots all the Russians.
That seems very... That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I would not have thought of that one personally, but that's all right. And he wouldn't be on for the whole time, of course. He would.
No. He'd get off somewhere.
We'll figure it out as we go, I suppose.
Yeah.
So.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you, listening to the great movie radio show starring Chris Snyder. I don't want anybody to get hurt, so don't go moving around until this Movie Talk podcast comes back. Capiche?
Warning. Remain on this podcast. The advertisement you are experiencing is extremely dangerous. Proceed with caution.
So we are looking at opportunities for networking and cross-promoting our podcast with maybe some local businesses or an online business that would like an opportunity to get their product out there. If you feel like you would like to take advantage of this unique opportunity, shoot us an email at thegmrshow@gmail.com. We're looking at businesses to advertise maybe 30 to 45 seconds worth and to be featured here on the show and on our website as well. Again, if you're interested, you can email us at thegmrshow@gmail.com, and we'll make sure our people contacts your people.
The heat's on, see? Which means it's time for Chris Snyder, host of the Great Movie Radio Show, to get back to work. I gotta lay low myself. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode of this Movie Talk podcast. Do it, or else, if you know what I mean.
So he's taking the ride, and we're going through the doors. We're not shooting out any red lights.
Nope.
No red lights are getting shot. Sorry, guys. All that hard work.
It's only very loosely based, remember?
Loosely based.
Loosely based.
You got it. So we're going into Western, and what's great is in the spirit of the ride, we already have John Wayne here.
There you go.
So your choice of True Grit just fits right in.
So you barely have to change it.
You just have to change what he's wearing,
Yeah.
the scenery around him, and like a little bit, of course.
Just a tiny bit.
Maybe the town.
Yeah.
So True Grit, we're coming in. What's your take on that?
It's when a lot of people say that they haven't watched any westerns or anything like that. My suggestion to them is to watch a John Wayne film, because 80% of his repertoire is western films.
Of course.
Now, my mom, being my mom, is a giant John Wayne fan. Her favorite John Wayne film, though, is The Quiet Man. It is not a Western. She does like the John Wayne Westerns. I had actually asked my mom what her favorite John Wayne movie is, and when she said The Quiet Man, I was like, I need to know the Western. She goes, it could be any of them. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's John Wayne. So when I was doing my research, I was thinking True Grit would probably be the best representation of what a Western should be. It's got the feel, it's got the dirt of living in the Old West.
We'd have to put an eye patch on him, too, of course.
Well, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's John Wayne.
Which I was very into the 2010 remake they did with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah,
And,
Jeff Bridges plays a great crotchety old man. That's for sure.
So you'd come around, eye patched John Wayne, of course older than his Searchers days, because it was 1969, I think, is when True Grit came out. I want to say it was around then. So you're coming around, you're going through that, and what scene in True Grit would you have Wayne involved with there?
Throwing the kid in the river because
Throwing
it's
the kid in the
hilarious. No, I don't know. I would say maybe towards the end where he gets the rattlesnake bite in the cavern.
Little vicious there.
Well, it's John Wayne. Before Chuck Norris, there was John Wayne. And that's just how it goes. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I would say probably towards the end was a good one. Like I said, when he's in the cavern with the snake bite. Because it broke down the tough exterior of the old-fashioned cowboy, and it kind of made him a little more humble, I think.
Yeah.
So, a cowboy with heart really is what it takes.
Coming from True Grit, I really love your science fiction piece because we come through the door, and not only are we in space still, we're probably going to be on a spaceship. And for all of you who thought Alien was terrifying, because it was when it first came out, this movie is completely messed up. I actually just saw it for the first time. I'm catching up on a lot of movies that I have not seen. And somehow, Event Horizon really got by. And
Sam Neill.
Finally watched it. Yes, Lawrence Fishburne.
Sean Pertwee.
It was so messed up. And that's it was Paul W.S. Anderson who made that, right?
Yes, it was.
And I watched that movie, and I have friends who said they have had nightmares because of this movie. And what are you, one of them?
No, not necessarily nightmares. I had to watch. It's one of those few movies that you think about that it's kind of hard to watch a second time. I will watch it a second time eventually.
I'll eventually watch it again.
But
it was great.
It's very tough to take in on the first shot without asking a lot of questions and then also feeling self-regret, or not self-regret, but self-loathing for the film itself because it's just so terrifying.
I mean, it was 1997 when this movie came out too, so it was pre-Matrix Fishburne, but it was most certainly post-Cowboy Curtis.
Yes.
So you come from Cowboy Curtis, Lawrence Fishburne, to Lawrence Fishburne
Fighting demons in space.
And it is a completely different ballgame for him. Sam Neill, of course, has done movies like this all the time. He did In the Mouth of Madness and
which is phenomenal.
Jurassic Park. And it wasn't as visceral as Event Horizon, but it was certainly, he's in peril.
Yes.
So very familiar territory for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Event Horizon was messed up.
Yeah.
If there is one way I could tell you how Event Horizon was, it was messed up.
Well, it's not only because it's sci-fi, but it also divulges into the
horror,
the horror, the mythos of religion.
Oh yeah.
There's a love story in there with Sam Neill and his ex-wife, and a couple of the crew members that are on board, and everything like that. It's just, it really plays with your mind, and it asks you a lot of questions about yourself as you're watching.
I mean, like Alien did for us in the sci-fi area, it was a horror sci-fi.
Yeah.
The ride touches more macabre stuff later, but Alien was a horror sci-fi movie.
Yes, it was.
And it was really hard to break that down on what to choose for this part. And science fiction ultimately won because we touch macabre later,
right?
The horror. Event Horizon totes a very similar package, and as far as the same type of delivery with scares and science fiction all in one story. And it was a fantastic film, and another one critics really panned, but it's a very underrated film, and I think for the time it was very well done.
Agreed.
Paul W.S. Anderson did a really good job with that film. So knowing what goes down, Sam Neill, going through what he goes through and putting them through peril just because he's trying to.
Sure.
He wants the ship, the Event Horizon.
Yeah.
What part would we be putting our writers through?
I was thinking about it. I was also thinking towards the end of that one, but I feel like that'd be too much.
I mean, because you don't want to spoil. I mean, in Alien, the alien's after him. That's it. Yeah. We don't tell you what happens to him.
I would probably say the easiest scene in that film would be when Sam Neill is watching from the command deck, and one of the other astronauts gets cut loose in outer space as they're trying to make repairs to the ship.
That would probably be a little easier.
And then Lawrence Fishburne comes in and bumps into the other person to save them.
That would be cool because you could even do like the concept of watching them from. It looks like a distance.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you
could
put the animatronic Sam Neill right by the window of the command center, and then have the screen like a green screen background behind it showing the scene.
That way, and of course you could have all the lights and the elements of the ship and everything's there, and it feels like you're going in the Event Horizon.
Right.
Or you're watching from their side of the ship while they're taking care of the Event Horizon. So that it fits right in.
I feel like that would just make the most sense as far as like not showing too much, but at the same time giving them a thrill.
Leaving that area after we escaped the ship, we got out. Event Horizon crew and everyone trying to rescue them. They might not share the same fate that we as the riders coming through get to have, because we get to leave. Yeah. Do they? Well, if you haven't seen Event Horizon, you need to. But we're going to go into your favorite action film, which hits a very international area with Bun Raku. I've never seen this movie. I have friends who have always recommended it to me. Josh Hartnett's in it.
Josh Hartnett, Woody Harrelson, Gakt, who else? Ron Perlman, Demi Moore.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this that, I mean, I've heard of, I haven't heard of, and again, it's being an international picture, I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's pretty much an indie-ish type action film with a major film budget.
And I hear it's action-packed. I mean,
the score is fantastic. There's a little bit of animation. It brings back the noir sense of the Western, but also bring in kung fu elements and everything like that. There's somewhat of a salmon ladder of hierarchy that the main characters have to go through to attain a sense of pride and dignity. I highly recommend it to anyone looking for a good plug for an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, Ron Perlman definitely looks like a Neanderthal Santa Claus.
He's known as the Huntsman.
The Huntsman?
And he is ranked number 1 in the province.
You have to tell me more about this.
Yeah, so, okay. The province, in the movie, the world is separated out by provinces and territories. Ron Perlman is ranked number 1 in the province that Josh Hartnett and Gacht that are traveling to. Josh Hartnett is there on a request for vengeance, and Gacht is there to bring honor to his family back home. The way the hierarchy works is that if you're ranked number 1, then only the person ranked number 2 could fight you, and so on and so forth. You can challenge anyone, but only the number 2 can fight the number 1.
Got it.
And once that, let's say you're ranked number 7 and I'm ranked number 4, if you beat me, then I have to die and you become number 4 in this hierarchy in the chain, and you have everyone under level 4 under your command.
That's interesting.
It's
but if
very
number 3 calls upon you, you're part of their command.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting. And again, I've never seen this one, and it seems very appealing, and it came out in 2010, I want to say.
Yes, 2010.
I'm going to have to check this one out. So this is what you would put in your action sequence.
Oh, yeah. The action sequence that I would put is similar to that of Old Boy. They did a similar style of filming for one scene in particular where Josh Hartnett is infiltrating a casino. Mm-hmm. And he's going through multiple levels of the building, and it's all shot in one take. So he's fighting these guys left and right, and the camera's just kind of panning along to the side of the building as he's going down into the casino.
That sounds awesome, actually.
It's very cool.
That would be a cool one, too, because you could watch it on the side. And
right.
It could be either projected, and I don't know, is it one of those things where it's the outline of him, or are you actually watching him go?
No, I would say it would be the live action person.
They go fight
coming towards the and then
that would be the way to swap out the writer back. That's awesome.
He would be one of the fighters. The guy who was in Boondock Saints, let's say, he would be one of the fighters, and he would get knocked out, and then Josh Hartnett's character would come down.
So the writer, the original guide, is Josh Hartnett's character,
right?
No Jules this time.
No,
but that sounds wicked. I would watch that.
It's a very cool film because it also puts like comic book elements in there too.
Yeah, which
when you're translating everything that Gacht is saying from Japanese, it's like in a bubble for comic books.
A word bubble, yeah. Well, we're gonna leave that and go into a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
With
a true nightmare.
A true nightmare. Jennifer Lopez did this movie. I want to say it was 99 or 2000.
I think it was 99 or 98.
I was going to say it was right near 2000. Yeah, I remember that
before the 2000s.
And I don't know how to say his name correctly, so forgive me. But Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Who's been in Jurassic World? He was in Daredevil. The newer one, of course.
Law and Order.
Law and Order
is what people usually tie him to.
Yeah, he's Sugar and Water from Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar.
Yeah.
So he's been all over the place, and he has been a very, very wide list of different characters in all his films,
right,
or TV experiences. But The Cell, he is a murderer, like a serial killer. If I remember hearing this, I still haven't seen this.
He's a psychopath,
but I've heard.
You haven't seen this?
I haven't seen this.
Oh wow,
I haven't. It's on my list. And so reading your list of things, I was like, this just further makes me have to see this. And I'm actually going to be taking lists, and as we put the podcast out, I'm going to actually post lists online. So hopefully our listeners can hear or see what we're watching, see some of our favorites, and maybe if there's something that they've missed. Maybe they'll get a recommendation out of it and can shoot us some feedback on what we have seen, what we haven't. And like I've told people already before we were getting the podcast set up to send us recommendations. Mm-hmm. I might get to watch a new favorite. Who knows? But The Cell I never got to see. I never got around to it.
It's fantastic.
But I've heard, and if I remember correctly, Jennifer Lopez is a doctor.
Not just a doctor, a child psychiatrist.
A child psychiatrist.
So Vincent's character essentially has the mind of a child. So
that's scary.
Yeah, he kills these people, but he doesn't think anything of it because he's thinking he's playing. It's
that's messed up.
Yeah, it takes a sharp turn into what the F is going on. I would say for the scene though, for the ride, it would probably be there's a part in particular where Jennifer Lopez is in the mind of Vince's character, and there's this cow that's getting set up for slaughter.
Oh man.
But what happens?
Kids, hide your eyes.
I mean, yes and no, because it's just basic anatomy of a cow. and these glass shards go through this cow, and as it's separating, it's keeping everything intact. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't a cow, it was a horse. It was a horse.
Don't have a cow, man.
I'm sorry. So it's these glass panes that cut this horse down into segmented pieces, and as the segments are separating, you could see the heart still moving, you could see the lungs still moving, you could still see the blood going through this little part of the vein. There isn't any mess, there isn't any gross stuff.
It's definitely macabre, though.
It's macabre for sure. It's gross for some, but it's the basic. It's the anatomy of a horse.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a real horse, I guess.
Yeah, it's not. It's an animatronic horse. That's all it is.
I guess we could, or at least the animatronic parts of one.
That's all it is.
We need to go 101. The blood pump isn't working right on the horse. So we get through that, and we come up to our drama area, which, Tarzan and Casablanca were very, Tarzan was more of your action adventure, which we touched already. So Old Boy is a movie that came out. There's been 2 versions. I know Spike Lee did one, but in 2003 was the original. And that is your favorite drama.
Yes, that's my favorite drama. It's not the one I would use for the ride, though. I would say, though, Old Boy is a gem as far as foreign writing goes. I don't know if this is like the new trend in Hollywood right now, but they've been doing a lot of remakes of Asian film. But for Old Boy, I would just say it's a prime example of foreign writing done right.
We're starting to get a lot of, like, Parasite that just came through, the guy who directed Snowpiercer. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see a lot of those films translate to over here.
There's so many Michael Bays that you could put in the world that people won't want to watch.
Nobody wants to watch Michael Bay anyway.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, Michael Bay's put out a good few films.
There's only so many storytellers on this side of the ocean that they're starting to tell the same thing over and over. And so we're branching out. We're trying to find more originality, and we're trying to find more something than just explosions. We're trying to find... like Taika Waititi. I can't remember the guy who directed Parasite, but he did Snowpiercer. We're starting to reach out and grab for more visionaries
instead of grabbing for straws.
Yeah. Exactly, and I think that's what's wonderful about this age of storytelling. So Old Boy wouldn't be your decision for what would go on the ride itself, is what you're saying.
Old Boy would be a tough one because it's a drama in the sense that it's psychological, more psychological than it is physical or metaphysical.
A lot of the ones on your list I'm reading are very they're that way. The game was very psychological,
but the game would be an easier one to put in the ride.
It would be, and you could just have him falling off the.
You could have him falling off the tower, or you could have him in his own study on the phone, just staring into the fire.
You could even have him sign up for the game.
Oh yeah.
Because he doesn't know what he's getting into, of course. What was it? It was a gift from his brother, Sean Penn.
It was a gift from his brother, Sean Penn, where Michael Douglas is the man who has everything except for this.
And, of course, this was a David Fincher film, and so his movies are always very psychological.
Yes.
Which I appreciate about him. The next, we're going around the corner, and animation is there. And I'm starting to feel the fans of Fantasia. You are reaching into anime.
Right.
I mean, your entire list. Because what I ask you is not just your favorite of each genre, but your top 5, in case we want to dive into the 5. Mm-hmm. And your entire animation list is anime.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. I've seen Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, but I have never seen your number 1. Or at least not all of it. I think I've seen maybe bits and pieces. I want to say like Toonami on Adult Swim played it once or twice. Cowboy Bebop, the movie.
Yes.
Is your absolute favorite animated movie.
Correct. Well, Beauty and the Beast holds a very special place in my heart because it was not only the first film I ever saw, but it was the first one that actually got me into not only animated films, but also musicals.
Exactly. So it kind of takes, precedent of
Cowboy Bebop the movie, which was also called Cowboy Bebop Knockin' on Heaven's Door, is based off of the TV show of the same name, Cowboy Bebop. What I really, really love about it is that it takes place in the future, but not so far of a future that everything's automated and robots are taking over and everything like that. But it's like there's a settlement on Mars. There's still plenty of room on Earth, but there's a settlement on Mars where people live and everything and abide by the rules of Earth.
I recall it having a sense of a noirish style.
It is because, and it's almost like a western as well, because the main character Spike Spiegel is a bounty hunter who rides along in a ship along with his buddy. I can't remember his name, but that's okay. And then along the series they picked up 2 other people named Faye Valentine, who is a femme fatale type of character. Jet Black is the other person that I was thinking of of the original crew of the ship Bebop. And and Faye Valentine would be the femme fatale of the group, who they picked up at a casino for running fake bills. And then
is it kind of like a bounty hunter type thing?
Yes. Spike
Okay.
Spiegel and Jet Black are bounty hunters. They go
Nice.
day by day trying to collect the bounties for double dollars and everything like that. And then the other person was a 2-package deal. Her name is... Shoot, I can't remember her name either.
Oh, shoot. So they picked up
it was-
another package. Is what I'm saying, yeah.
It was the girl. It was a little girl, and she's a hacker of like all major technology. Oh, her name's Edward. That's why I couldn't think of it, because it's very strange.
Very strange, yeah.
Yeah, and then she has a dog, a genetically modified or genetically enhanced dog who's a corgi named Einstein.
I know, because I have a friend who's a Bebop fan, and they have a corgi.
Exactly. What I really loved about the series itself is that each episode was based off of a style of music or a style of dance.
Really?
So
That's how the series was.
that's how the series was. So when they first met Faye Valentine in the casino, I think it was Casino Girl Blues or something by the name of the title. But the movie itself, it is beautifully drawn. The music is phenomenal, and it adds in such a good tie to the surroundings of what's going on.
Did they do something similar with the musical ties into the film?
Well, yeah, the whole film itself is written by and composed by a band who wrote the song Tank. They're called the Seatbelts.
Okay.
And they're almost like a jazz orchestra.
That sounds incredible.
It's very, very
I gotta
cool.
watch it now.
I
I
used
have
to
to sit
have
down and watch the whole
I
thing.
used to have all of the soundtracks on my computer, but when my computer got wiped,
Yeah.
I lost all that music.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
Time to go back.
I'm sure once I find a vinyl for it, I'll probably buy the vinyl for it.
There you
But
go.
It's great film.
So, Cowboy Bebop, and of course, I've seen Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke. My art teacher in high school, he showed us one year in art school Japanese animation. Mm-hmm. And when we hit Japanese art culture, we hit anime. And he showed us the Ghibli films. And I vaguely remember seeing both of these in his class and just being blown away. And
If you're looking to get into anime, Studio Ghibli does a very, very good
They're
job of
phenomenal.
drawing you in.
And I haven't seen all of the movies. I think the last one I saw was Arrietty, which was the little people.
Yeah, it was The Borrowers. It was
Yeah,
just
exactly,
another
yeah.
storytelling of The Borrowers.
Totoro and Castle
Yeah.
in the Sky, and there's so many
Yeah,
different
The Cat Returns,
Cat
Whisper in the
Returns.
Heart.
fantastic films.
Yeah,
and
Spirited Away was like the huge one that really put him on the map.
and I love it so much. So would Bebop be your choice to be in the animation sector of the ride? or-
Yes and no. It'd be kind of different because you could really play that in drama as well. If I had to pick one, I would either pick Howl's Moving Castle or Steamboy.
Steamboy.
Now, Steamboy was a very good representation of what steampunk is. My wife, whom I love very, very much, did her dissertation in college of steampunk, and one of her go-to films to explain what steampunk is Wild Wild West, which I also love.
the film or the series?
The film.
So many people gave hate to that movie.
True, but they don't understand what, not so much of a cult following steampunk is, but it's more of like the true essence of what steampunk is.
Understood.
Steamboy does a relatively similar thing. It's set in Victorian England, and they perfected a machine that uses a steam ball, which is the pressurized gas and everything like that. You could use it to fuel any possible vehicle or war machine or jetpack that you could possibly think of. If anything, it's kind of more of a Japanese representation of The Rocketeer.
Which, for people who know me outside of the podcast, is my favorite film of all time.
Right. Steamboy, like I said, takes place in Victorian England. The English monarch is trying to expand on their land. There is one particular vehicle that I really like that they took in effect and put in animation that was actually real, which I hope to one day, if I become bored enough and rich enough, build one day. It is a monocycle.
Monocycle is like a one-wheel.
It's where you sit down in a seat and the wheel is all around you, and you can put your feet in
Who
the
is
stirrups.
copying my drawings? I did one of those in high school.
But-
I drew one of those. No, real, it was like a spaceship version. But yeah, it was like a one-wheel cycle.
Yeah.
Men in Black 3 stole my work too.
But
After
that actually was a real working thing back in like 1912.
Oh, well, then never mind. I'm stealing it from other people.
Yes,
I'm
you
so
are.
sorry.
Which is
Don't come
fine.
after me.
They're probably dead. It was 1912.
I know. Maybe.
But yeah, I would probably say Steamboy would be a better representation of animation because they use 3D elements alongside 2D elements to really paint the picture as far as giving it depth.
All of these are anime. Why don't you just do a whole wall of anime montage?
You could, but not a lot of people are into anime.
This is true.
That's the problem with it, is that anime is not really seen as a main go-to source of animated material. When people say, what's your favorite animated film, what do they usually say? Something probably along the lines of Disney or Nickelodeon film.
There's different animation styles.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about, what I've seen in anime. And of course, we get it here in the States too, but I feel that when you subgenre anime as one type of animation, there's so many different pieces of animation, different style in just anime.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at the broader picture, it's usually the same.
Yeah, and going along with that, you could also give flight to films like Akira, and things like that. Akira really paved the way for anime.
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell was a perfect series that showed really depth of close to 3D animation and did detail. Yeah,
and they did a live action movie, but it was more of an anime-ish cartoon series on MTV by Aeon Flux.
Yes, same concept.
Exactly. And those were all drawn differently, looked differently, but also were the same at the same time because of the culture they represented and brought to light. And it's brilliant.
So really what I would say as far as like genre animated, if I had to choose, I would choose one for Japanese stylized anime. So I would pick Steamboy. Yeah. And then I would also pick something along the lines of older Disney films like Sword in the Stone or Fox and the Hound.
Robin Hood.
Or Robin Hood was also a great one. Oodalali all the day. But Beauty and the Beast showed the 2D planal animation style, which I think is genius.
You gotta put that in at your fave.
If you were making the rhyme. That's gonna be my favorite as far as like Western style. Yeah. Western style animation, I would say Disney films from the early 50s all the way through the early 90s.
Got any claymation or stop motion you would put in there?
Claymation or stop motion is kind of a tough one. I thought Box Trolls was genius.
Leica is phenomenal.
That whole company is doing right things.
One of my favorite animated pieces of all time is from one of theirs, and that's Kubo and the Two Strings. And that movie just blew me away.
I really liked Paranorman. I really liked Box Trolls. But I think Box Trolls is my favorite one.
Of course, everyone loves Coraline. That was, I want to say, their first one they ever did.
Coraline was a great one.
Henry Selick came after doing James and the Giant Peach and Nightmare Before Christmas. And Coraline, funny enough, I knew about the film for years, and I watched it, I want to say, a year or two ago for the first time, finally. Yeah. I was exploring all of Leica's library, and we finally watched it, my wife and I, and I saw the appeal immediately.
Right.
Finishing the film, I was like, I immediately know why so many people are obsessed with this movie. Very well put together, and the stop motion was... I love everything Leica does, so I'm sorry, you said Box Trolls, and I had to voice my praise.
And I would lump that in as well to Western animation. I mean, really, animated would be such a broad spectrum as far as like putting a favorite, because there are so many different styles of animation that you could go for that it kind of not really contradicts itself, but it also brings a lot of light to new and upcoming ways to make a film.
Exactly.
Yeah, because then there was also a Scanner Darkly.
Oh, don't get me started with Scanner Darkly.
Which took the real life images.
Well, that was rotoscope.
Yeah, and it was rotoscope.
Oh my God, I love that film so much.
But that's what I'm saying, is that there are so many spectrums to the animated genre that you can't really choose one as far as like... There's a Prime or Hulu, I forgot. It's one of those network or streaming services. Someone's doing a show kind of like it right now. The girl, it was Alita Battle Angel, and I think Bob Odenkirk's in it. I forgot what it's called. But they're doing that style on a show right now. Yeah. And I want to watch it. I just forgot the name of it. It just completely slipped my mind. But I saw the trailer for it, I think, the other day on my Fire Stick, and I immediately just thought Scanner Darkly, which it's on my library. I love that film. I saw it in theater, actually. Yeah. It was like out for 2 weeks, and then you never saw it again. And I was lucky enough to catch it. So, like, I would say if you were coming in around the corner for the animated section, kind of have to reserve 4 or 5 different parts to really explain what animation can do, what it has done.
Instead of just one.
Instead of just one solitary, this is my film, I like it. So
I appreciate that. I mean, because there's different styles, there's different takes on animation, and
where it's like if you go to like an action film, then it's going to be, I know I'm going to see explosions. I know I'm going to see fighting. I know I'm going to see probably guns or swords. Whereas like animation, it's like this artist has a different rendition of this character, but this character doesn't match the other artist, and
different stories told in different formats.
Exactly.
No, I am right there with you. I like that. After animation, of course, Wizard of Oz. We've already touched base on beloved films. I listed comedy last because the ride really didn't touch comedy a lot, and of course, going into the finale, there was a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of placed comedy after animation just for the sake of comedy's a great genre.
Yeah.
And if you're going to Wizard of Oz a comedy film, I'm going to go with your number 4. And I'm going to say Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah,
because
that would
if
be good.
I'm going to come into a large scene to finish the ride before finale, even though I just put comedy here at the end just to have it in there, just to include it, you're coming into the sound of the faint coconuts from...
Understandable.
Exactly. And then you're coming in to the Knights of the Round Table and Patty of the Coconut and all of them, and then he's searching for the knights.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I've been kind of looking at this on your list, and I've predetermined you're right. I'm so sorry. But you stop, and you talk to King Arthur.
Yeah.
And he is making you part of his quest.
Are you my knights
Are
of
you-
the round table?
Exactly. So he is coming to you and requesting you to join him on his quest to take Camelot.
Yeah.
And
I can see that.
I love Monty Python. I love them so much, and I love all their films. I haven't seen Life of Brian in so long. And, I mean, Flying Circus, I grew up on that. I mean, you remember the Lumberjack song.
Yeah.
There's a very fun story of the Lumberjack song and a bachelor party for myself, including Joe and other friends.
Oh, yeah.
So... I think it would be very interactive, which is what Wizard of Oz and the ride did at the end.
True.
It was very interactive with the witch and, getting the teller off and being get out of here, you're a witch, whatever. But you could just, the song, the Knights of the Round Table,
the whole
dance
Camelot song,
well, you could have all the people dance. It's just like all the little guys at Wizard of Oz coming around. And oh my God. So yeah, when we started, I looked over and I was like, we have to do Monty Python. But I do want to talk about your favorite comedy because I don't want to do you any disjustice. Uncle Buck.
Yes.
Which is another film I haven't seen completely. I know. I also haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I know.
Those are John Candy essentials.
I know.
You're doing yourself a disservice.
I'm
my
doing
friend.
John Candy a disservice, so I apologize.
So, what I love about Uncle Buck is that it was my sick movie. So like whenever I got really sick and I had to stay home from
the
school,
one to lay in bed and
my
watch.
mom would pop in the VHS Uncle Buck.
Yes.
And I'd watch all of Uncle Buck. It was that one. And I didn't put it on the list, but I think I'm going to take off one of them on my list and replace it with another one, My Cousin Vinny.
Pesci, there you go.
Uncle Buck was so great in the sense that, like, it was another thing of Chicago pride.
Yeah.
He lived in... He lived in the Chicago Cubs Stadium.
Yeah. Oh,
and he had a clap on.
That, yeah.
He had that clap on and Cubs Stadium would light up. So that was funny. The one-liners that he had, the back and forth with Macaulay Culkin, asking all those questions rapid fire and just like answer, question, answer, question, answer. And it's great writing from a fantastic comedy star who knew how to bring the audience in.
Yeah. And you believe the character.
Absolutely.
100% you believed. I mean, everything John Candy did, you believe.
Well, Uncle Buck is part of your family.
Exactly.
Whether you like it or not, Uncle Buck is part of your family. There's always the one guy in the family that's just like, oh, that's my Uncle Buck. Because, like, I have an uncle, Uncle Dan, was very, very similar to that when I was growing up. He would show up on his Harley, he'd chew on his cigars, and he'd come in just every day. He knew who I was. He didn't have any mental problems or anything like that. But he would come in like for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
He'd look at me and go, oh, hey, Dan Carper, how you doing? Just shake my hand every single time.
So he'd say his full name.
Yeah.
Like he didn't
Dan
know
Carpenter,
who you
how
were,
you doing?
but he was somebody.
Yeah, Dan Carpenter, how you doing? But it's stuff like that. And he would always tell people off. He'd tell how it is. He'd sugarcoat things only if he knew he was getting something out of it. And that's why I love my Uncle Dan.
We love Uncle Buck, too.
Yeah.
I gotta see it. There you go. So, yeah, I don't know how that one got past me. There's quite a few on your list that I'd have to say I've seen at least 75% of these.
Plus the fact that Uncle Buck had one of the greatest lines in comedy history that I think I have ever heard.
And that is?
Take this nickel, go downtown, have a rat, gnaw that thing off your face. In the scene, it's the principal of the little middle school girl in the family.
Yeah.
And the principal is saying that, I think her name is Maisie. Maisie has too much of an imagination. She's daydreaming and she's running around all silly and everything. She needs to think about her future. And the first line out of his mouth when she said that was, "She's 7. You gotta let her be 7." And as the principal is explaining how they want to, they take pride in putting their kids forward and having them ready for the future. He looks at her and he's just telling her off and blah, blah, blah. You can't treat them like that. They're children. You have to make sure that they be children now, or else they lose it forever. And then then she seems disgusted, and he digs into his pocket and he goes, "Here's a nickel. Go downtown, have a rat, gnaw that thing off your face." Because the whole time he's looking at this wart on the side of her lip. And then Funky Cole Medina plays in the background as he's walking out of the school.
Oh, man.
It's fantastic. It's great writing, and it's a feel-good family comedy.
How I haven't seen this movie is beyond me. I have no idea.
It's also where you get to see the world's biggest flapjack, that he uses a snow shovel to flip. So, I mean, there you go.
That's what's great about this is, talking to you and future guests, I'll be able to, explore movies that I have somehow missed.
Absolutely.
We all miss movies. I talk to friends all the time at work, and I work in a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, "Have you seen this?" "No." It's like, "You work in a movie theater." And then
Right.
"Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "You work in a movie theater." And then
Right.
when your fisticuffs come out, it
Yeah,
just
just
kind of happens. Yeah, I'm coming after you. But, no, that's what's great about this. There's so many movies, and just some of them just get missed, and then you treasure the ones you've seen, or you tear them apart, either way.
Right.
And that's what's great about this, and that's, going forward, and hopefully all of you listening will come along the journey, and you've enjoyed this, that we're going to bring you along and just talk about film, whether it's something that's been seen, something that's not. And I have no idea, because I haven't watched Uncle Buck, but, I want to watch the world's largest flapjack flipped with a shovel. And it's John Candy. So
the scene itself is only 2.5 minutes long. And
Exactly.
It's Macaulay Culkin's birthday when it happens. But it's giant flapjacks that you'll never, ever see ever.
It's just too good to YouTube, the 2.5 minute clip. You have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. We went way more than I thought we were going to, which is good because hopefully we've kept you in. If we haven't, then you're not hearing me talk anyways and whatever. We're going to be talking again soon about some other movies that have inspired you beyond your favorites, maybe some scores and composers, favorite directors, and maybe some films you haven't seen that you want to. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening to us, folks, and we'll see you next time here at the Great Movie Radio Show.
Bye-bye now.
The Great Movie Radio Show is recorded in Orlando, Florida. You can visit our website at www.thegmrshow.com. Art direction and logo design provided by Mr. Bayless. Voiceover and intro work provided by Dave Fesky and Joe Erickson. You can find our podcast on multiple platforms, such as Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Music provided by the YouTube Audio Library. You can find us on multiple social media outlets, including Facebook. Just search The GMR Show. This has been The Great Movie Radio Show. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you at the movies. The stuff dreams are made of. Goodbye, everyone.